Yes, thank you, Prof. So we thank you very much for the presentation. There's a lot we have soaked in, and there's some mental awakening here. I believe some of us have questions, comments, clarities that you want to seek. So at this stage, if you have a question, you can come up and share your question. So Ras, what is your question? Please let it be brief. In less than 2 minutes, we expect you to put your questions or comments so that others can also have, and then the presenter can also respond.
What are we talking about here today? What are we talking about? What's the topic of discussion? So that we could reason between each other on whatever we decide to talk about.
Yes. So the topic is
about the lecturers and something else.
The topic is the Meta School of Manifestation, and the presenter has done a lot to explain to us how we can manifest things. He has talked about the educational system, the fact that we inherited it from colonialism. And so you've heard a lot. If you have a question, you can put it forth. If you don't have any question, we expect you to rather mute your mic and allow anybody who has a question to do so. Thank you.
I have a question.
Please, anybody has a question?
I have a question.
Please come forward, press. Yes.
Yeah, to the professor, very impressive presentation. And my question is this meta school? Is it functional, like you are teaching something in a school, like in the online or in a building?
Okay, thank you. So we do have a website, and there are students. I'm not the only teacher. Basically, all of you listening here are also teachers, and you can also be students at the same time. So it's not very open, so to speak, to the general public. But in this case, as we are discussing it here, you already have come into contact with it through the Rastafari movement in Ghana and other places. The education system is really, we don't have classrooms where we sit to, take courses. It's all about getting to know thyself and accessing certain tools that can help you to navigate the physical reality that we find ourselves stuck in. So yes, there is mentorship and coaching through entrepreneurship and business creation, which we teach. You find this in the mainstream education, but not everybody who goes through the mainstream education meets it. Those who come into contact with myself probably get a sneak preview into it. But literally, it's the type of education that you only come into contact with when you are ready for it. And that's how I can answer this for now.
Yes, please. The next question or comment.
Oh, my follow-up question. I don't know if my microphone is on.
Yes.
Okay. My follow-up question is the book. Yeah, thank you. The book that you listed, Prof, are they available for purchase?
No. So maybe it wasn't so clear. These books are not books that exist in written and bound copies. So for instance, the first book is the book of yourself. The book that you have to read first and foremost is your own book. In the Nile Valley system of education, it is taught that the human body itself is a whole system of education. So the structure of your body, the functions of the body, like if you take the mind alone, it teaches that there are about 49 different levels of the mind. But typically, we don't even go towards that at all. So the first thing is really about learning about yourself, your own unique abilities and attributes, what makes up your desires, why you are here, what unique contributions you came here to make contributions to. And that is the first book. So it's not something that you can go and purchase. It's only about getting to introspect and to listen deeply. And I think for the Rastafari community, this is something that we naturally do. It's about withdrawing from the noise of the world and focusing inside and getting to know yourself better. And those techniques are in meditation, self-awareness, mindfulness practices, and things like that are the tools to reading that particular book. And the second book I talked about is the book of your neighbor. Since if your body and your mental processes and everything function in a certain way, then your neighbor too must be functioning in a specific way. So understanding yours, it's also important to understand the next person to you, your neighbors, and the people you work with, the people you go to school with, etc.
Why are we focusing on a discussion about neighbors? Why are we focusing on a discussion about neighbor?
I use the word neighbor advisedly. It's just about studying other people, basically, not in the sense of neighbor as somebody you live with or live close to. So for the lack of a better word, neighbor simply means studying other people, other human beings that we live together with in society. We are in society with people, and we co-manifest our desires. To do something, you need other people's help, as much as you could also be a help to others. So understanding those people, as much as you understand yourself, is one of the steps in this system of education. And the third book that we talked about is the book of nature. Again, this is not something that is written down, but you find this book of nature almost about everywhere. It's in the animals, it's in the rivers, it's in the trees, it's in the clouds, it's in everything in nature. So studying nature is the third step in the books we recommend. But beyond this, I also have my own.
Nature is the book of life. Nature is the book of life.
That's right.
Nature is the book of life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
Anybody has something else to say? Come on, guys. What's up?
Yes. So
I have something to say though.
Yes, please come in.
Yeah, I have something to say. Yeah, my question is, I heard him say online. So what about the people who don't have access of Android phone or technology to also study?
Very good question. So this is the first stage of what we are developing. But remember, it existed offline before it came online. So it exists actually offline first. So those without access to modern technology that are wired in this way will still meet the system, and nothing stops them participating in this system of education. So I would say that the system actually exists more offline now than it is online. So that caters for almost everybody who is interested in on the school of manifestation.
Yes, greetings, Prof. I hope that you're hearing. I hope the brethren question answered because he kind of fell offline. This is Chief Maya Congo I wanted to say that yes, the brethren is forward. Did you finish asking your question, brother? I'll pause. He went offline again. Okay, let me just go ahead and say I grasp exactly what the professor is saying. The ancient teachings was dealt with through oral traditions. It wasn't so much as book traditions. And so he's already given you basically the three books from what I've heard that if you study, you will get to where you need to be. There are some other practices or, meditation and other things, but basically it's told you the three books, nature and so forth. So if we could focus on those three books, one is yourself, one is your neighbor, one is nature, and those things encompass you your worldly communications and contact with other individuals, and meta, which is everything around you, the resources of life that you either sharing with the people, that you're making contact with, or they're sharing with others. So I kind of get the whole metaphysical concept, and I'm just hoping that others are grasping it that way, and what I just said might help to wrap it. Yeah, let me pause. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No. You really hit it right on the head, and I think that summarizes it very well for us. So, open for more reasoning to go on.
All right, give thanks. Can I come in?
Yes, please.
Give thanks, Prof. So I have a few points, but just so I don't hug the show, I'll just ask some of them, and then later on, if there's time, then I'll come in and ask the others. First of all, the school of, the Meta School of Manifestation, as you stated, Prof. Am I right if I think that it basically means that everybody's kind of like looking at the world from their own perspective? Basically, there's more individualism than, as you stated, a standardized format. Now, if that's the case also, then how do we solve the issue of agreeing on a common, if you get where I'm going with this? Because with the standardized, they will tell you 1 + 1 is 2. And everybody's supposed to flow with that logic. Now we are trying to debunk that logic. But now everybody's coming in with their own theory of what 1 + 1 is. So how do we arrive at the common where we all feel like, okay, I feel like 1 + 1 is 7, and you feel like 1 + 1 is 3, but we are both right. How do we arrive there? Because otherwise, it looks then like this recipe for chaos. Now, my next question is about, you mentioned finding your purpose. Is there a simple recipe for finding your purpose on this earth? This is something I've been grasping with my whole entire life, and I still am grasping with it. If there is a method that you can show us how to find your purpose in this life using the School of Manifestation, I'll be very grateful for that. As I said, if there's more time, I'll come in with my other concerns. Blessed Lord.
Thank you very much. We start with the last question, which is about finding your purpose. I think for us as African people, when you are finding yourself over here, most of the questions that we normally try to activate in our mind to help us to understand this whole idea of purpose, it's why were you created in this way, or into this continent, or into this country, and what are the fundamental problems that the people that you are born into are facing, and what are your unique attributes and skills that can help to contribute to the solutions of the problems that we are facing. So if you look at the Black race, if you want to look at it in a more broader context, then currently most of our development is held back in many ways, largely because we've forgotten a lot about what we knew before we were miseducated. Finding your purpose as a Black person will probably include getting to know and understand what our ancestors had done before, and what we are here now to continue in terms of expanding that. But that also means that we don't have one single purpose in this life. Perhaps at the early stages of your life, you may find yourself maybe educating or in some engineering or artistic creation. But later on in life, you may grow up to do some other things. So I think it's usually about the kind of things that interest you, for which you have natural inclinations and abilities to make the most contribution to fulfill your own passions and desires, and therefore by helping to advance the culture that you live in.
Really?
Activate that through your own learning and through some of the things that I've talked about in reading those books that are fundamental to this process of self-discovery and self-realization. But to the first question on whether the system is trying to depart from the standardized way of doing things, and where the location of the individual versus the collective, I think it's really more holistic than that, because what we seek to do is not to throw away the baby with the water, but rather to help it work better. There's nothing wrong with the standardized system of education, except that it is very limited. So what the Meta School proposes is to look beyond just the one way of doing the world through the uniform structure, rigid systems that have been created. So if one proposition is out there, the student must simultaneously see that there are hundreds of other propositions that can be entertained. And if the education system is true and real to every purpose, then through to individual A, if it's really true knowledge, must reflect the same kind of knowledge to B. Therefore, there are basic rules and standards for learning this, and we all have general agreements and understanding about concepts and things. So it cannot be the case that one person understands the color black to be black and another sees that to be yellow, and so on and so forth. So there are commonalities upon which we all come to basic agreements about what the common reality is. Example, if we say that the time in Ghana now is 8 o'clock, then it must be 8 o'clock for the common people that live and experience life in that way. So there are generalities as well as specificities in this system of education that accounts for both the individual and the collective in that sense. Thank you.
Victor.
Yes, please. Any more questions, comments?
Yes, can you hear me? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm on one block up a sound within the heights. You see, because I get to understand this is a Guyana council. I've been observing this council for some time. Yes, I'm Raskin Negus, presently in Africa. But I wanted to contribute towards that reasoning there, because I don't know if there was 100% in this. And is these books that I reason up, I would like to simplify it a little bit more by focusing on what is called the third eye, the pineal gland, whereas the third eye is responsible for what you call reading, you see? Because when you go to school, and you was learning to read from cat to rat to mat, those things was difficult. But with the assistance of the teacher, eventually you've gone up to catadoop, all kind of different big words now. You read, and it becomes easy. Well, it's the same way of reading is called telepathic intuition, whatever you call it. Well, if you can do these reading, then all those other things you will gather. You see? But the thing is, people get old and they don't develop that reading. They don't know how to use to read from the third eye, because there is no one who is going to be there to say, this is what, and guide you to. So people get old and they don't have no intuition. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think that was a very important contribution to part of the reasoning that we are doing here. And my brother hit the nail on the head because the pineal gland, in our ancient knowledge.
I think the third eye is always in use. Everybody uses the third eye. Some people are not conscious of it, but the third eye is always in use.
Allow the presenter
The third eye is what teaches us and exposes us to anything that's out there. You know? So that
give thanks. Please, would like the presenter to respond to Junior Neighbor's comments. Give thanks.
Yeah, so I was saying that the brother has made a very important contribution as part of this reasoning that we are all doing. Because most of the manifestation that I talked about, although I did not mention it specifically, but it goes through that channel that our brother said. The pineal gland, it's a small P-shaped endocrine gland located in the middle of the brain and between the two hemispheres, the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. So if you have those two groups, it's joined in half by the thalamus. And this is what basically regulates all the biological rhythms in our body, primarily in the sense of melatonin production, the hormone that actually influences our sleep-wake cycles. So our brother rightly pointed out, it's often referred to as the third eye. And when this is awake, it's almost impossible to, dangle around in the dark because you see. And in ancient Egypt, we actually refer to this as the first eye. And so in most other teachings, they'll show you that the two eyes that we have actually don't see much. So if you have this third eye or the first eye awake, then almost all subjects become discernible easily because that's where the intuitive center of the brain and the consciousness and your spiritual connection to all of life.
what awakens the third eye? How do we get the third eye to come alive?
Right, so we talk
awake.
about quite a number of practices and exercise. So in the normal human being as we have right now, either through the kind of foods we eat or the lifestyles that we have chosen, the third eye has been deliberately put to sleep in many ways. So we have to become more conscious of the life that surrounds us. Most of the practices that I mentioned help to activate the third eye through conscious breathing exercises, exercises in introspection, visualization, and more focus. All of these tend to facilitate the awakening of the third eye, because that's where the seat of all the images that you are creating actually begin to take shape and form. So meditation activates it. That's one tool that is very, very important in activating. And also certain types of energies. And
what about conscious knowledge? Conscious knowledge.
Yeah.
Conscious knowledge. Wisdom.
So
overstanding.
Yes.
Conscious
That's
knowledge.
right.
Wisdom and overstanding.
Yeah.
Will awaken up the third eye. Conscious knowledge, right. Wisdom and overstanding.
That's
not
right.
just about what to eat alone. It's just physical. The spiritual awakening of the third eye have become conscious knowledge and wisdom.
Ras, with all due respect, you are giving us so many interruptions. If a brother has a question, please, we expect the presenter to take to respond to that question. So, please, if you have something to say, you wait when it's your turn. So it looks like you are doing so much interjections here, and it's affecting the flow of the meeting. So please allow the people to ask questions and allow the presenter to answer. If there is a need for you to ask a question, we'll grant you that platform, please. Thank you. So please, any more questions, comments?
Yes, I would like to add to the reasoning, if it's possible. The third eye, the pineal gland, or the pineal gland, and the role that it plays in we will call REM, or the rapid eye movement state when you go into sleep. It's when you're, it's interesting enough, we say you see through the third eye, but based on the calcification process that they've been doing to fluoride and all the stuff that they've given us, that has kind of dulled the ability. Every now and then we might get a little spiritual heights where we can see through the third eye, but most of what's going on here, from the music, just the regular smell, the toxification of the air, a lot of this affects the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland is where melatonin is stored. And so it actually plays the role of like light and dark, go to sleep and wake, serotonin, melatonin. And so this little, it's what would we call it? It's calcified, they were saying the European, but it's active in the African, right? But what happens is when you go to sleep, you have to get to a certain breathing pattern to get into the state of REM. And it's a 7-second breathing pattern that is also used in meditation. So basically you're tricking the brain to say you're asleep. And it's only when you're asleep does the pineal gland activate the melatonin that is necessary for you to go into the dream state. So it's that ability to sit still, meditate, trick the brain that you're sleeping, and have the pineal gland release the melatonin that will allow you to have that deeper vision as if you're dreaming, and pull out, the information that is necessary. So back in the days, the ancients would go into a trance in order to get the answer. And that was the ability to trick the brain into saying you're asleep. The melatonin releases. I'm hoping that I'm clear with what I'm saying, because this meditation process we're talking about doing and everything else that we're talking about doing just wraps up into that concept. When you're going to sleep, you first have several kind of breathing that you go through. But when you get into that deep sleep, where behind your eyelids, the eyeballs begin to move around, it's called a rapid eye movement, right? REM. That is the state where you begin to dream. So they have studied, when does melanin get released into the brain and it's when you go into REM. They have studied it and they understand the role that melanin plays in your dream sequence. So it's very important to know how to breathe those 7 seconds, like that long breath we take where we go in sleep and then we go and if you count that, you count 7 seconds. And that's how you meditate also. I'm going to pause so that Professor could take over. Pardon me.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you. That was, yes. That was very fantastic contribution to the topic. So please, more contributions. I agree with all of that because it's all in line with the system that we presented. And in addition to this, it's really about brainwave cycle, which is also linked to this whole idea of manifestation, which comes through activating the pineal gland to be able to do its work in a normal sense. I think maybe just to add to what you've said, in most Europeans, that has been well documented, that the pineal gland, by the time they turn maybe 7 years old, it's already calcified. And I think for most of us with our lives, even though we may be in black bodies, our lives have become more European through what we eat and what we absorb and etc. So to some extent, you can make that same argument for us as Black people. Even though we have the advantage, but having the advantage and not being able to utilize that advantage doesn't actually give you the advantage in any way. So we have also got into the habits of eating foods that are not consistent with a healthy and supportive pineal gland system, and have adopted several lifestyle patterns that do not allow this natural expression of us to come forward. And I think by reducing most toxins in our bodies, practicing more of what our brother said about the deep breathing exercises, adequate sleep, and light exposure control, some of the mechanics of tapping into this, amazing magical organ that is situated right in the middle of our brain, ready to do magic and miracles for us. Thank you. So others can still come in with contributions. I think this is getting more and more interesting because all of the contributions are towards the same point we have discussed in terms of manifesting at the meta.
If I can make a comment. One perfect love to my family here that I can see. I give thanks to Daddy Vasco for sending the invitation to me so that I could join this very crucial reasoning, which has come at a time for me when I've just returned from Ghana. I live in Jamaica. I am Sister Taliba. I lived previously in the UK for 40 years. But from the time I landed there, something in my soul said, this place is not real. It's disconnecting me from the Almighty because it was so concrete. And, them time I didn't even know myself as Rasta, but I knew that I didn't belong there. I knew that I came from another time when there was peace and love. Don't ask me to explain how I know. I just felt it in my soul, And I adhered and listened to that voice as I walked around England and saw all the theft and all the things that was there that actually came from Africa. Eventually, cut a long story short, I found myself within Rastafari family, and I will always give thanks for that journey and the love and the clarity that I found there, the identity that I found there, and also the voice that enabled me to make sense of the fact that something is not quite right with what seems to be the norm around here. And my walk in Rastafari gave I permission and gave I validation to think that and to walk with it, And through the same meditation that I don't want to be there, I want to go home, I was able to leave and come and live here in Jamaica. I wanted to come and live in Africa. I came to Ghana so many times. I even bought land. But Africa is not the place that I see as a sister that you come by yourself. You need to be part of something. And so I came to Jamaica 15 years now. I live way up in the Blue Mountains. If you can see on my window there, I put the Janami sign so that I can keep a focus that except for the Almighty, I fear no one. You see? And on that meditation, I hold firm. I don't want to take a long time, but I just want to share this meditation that came to me in my short journey that I made to Ghana the other day. I am blessed in as much as my granddaughter is now in Cape Coast University studying. And so I came to settle in and touch base with ones and ones that I'd met there before. And while I was there, I was thinking about my brothers, thinking about African man. I don't even want to say black man. I want to say African man. And excuse me for using the word African because I know it was not the original word that was used to discuss, to identify the infinite abundance that we are as African people. And as I laid in my bed in Cape Coast thinking about my brothers and what was happening to them, it showed me, hey, black man is omnipotent amongst man and man in the earth, Black man is kings. Black man, and I kept on saying it to my daughter when I came back to London. I'm saying, black men are kings. Black men are gods, They've been robbed of so many things, of all the resources that is in the continent should be under our control through our brothers who are kings in our earth, We had so much all along. We never had to fight and fuss and kill each other over it. And I believe that's what the mistake we made when the other people come. When the Caucasian came and everybody else come, we thought they were like us. And we were openly sharing and opened the door for them to come. And we know history has told us what they have done in return. So one brother there asks about individualism. If we're all acting as individuals, will we see things differently? I think the fact that we are all here shows that it is not so. When we recognize ourselves as melanated people and as African people, and that good will triumph over evil, and that all things began in our continent, and we are part of that. That was never taken out of our DNA, no matter where we are. Because although they have oppressed my brothers, my fathers, so much, all the kings of Africa, so much, and by doing that, they have oppressed I too as a sister. In spite of that, we are still we excel in it. There's now so much information coming on the internet that's showing the things we invented, the things we created. We have no reason to hang our head in shame. The thing now I see, and I was just sitting here writing about it today, was the fact that the education, it seems to me that as natural man, natural African man, the way the naturality is that our brain, let's say it works clockwise, it works naturally with nature, east, west, north, and south, earth, wind, water, fire, mother, father, sister, brother. It works naturally. The time you go to sleep, the time you're awake. And when the sun comes up and when the moon comes up, all of these natural, you plant a seed, you water it, and it grows. And it seems to me that once we are born, we are strong, because research has shown that an African child, up until the time they enter school, moves very fast and is very strong until they enter school. And it seems to me that the education system that the superficial supremacy people have created works anti-clockwise. So they teach us hickory dickory dock and all of this foolishness to start the calcifying of our brain and our understanding. So we're working against ourselves trying to understand this system that they introduced through education. And so far, the pineal gland and the DNA, the thing that is written deep within our soul, the love that we have for one another, activates that pineal gland, activates this oneness and the manifestation, as the brother is talking about here, So we always talk about unity, and it seems the system works very hard to keep us disunited, So I think we have to keep the love alive, and we have to keep sharing this knowledge, as the brother is saying. And we are the first book. I love you, my brother, for saying that, because without that first book, we would be totally engulfed in this anti-clockwise education and this system that works against us, in particular, as African people. And so therefore it is no wonder then that mental illness is on the increase amongst us. Addiction is on the increase amongst us. When you think of all the things, the oppressive and down-pressive things that we have been through, but still here we are still rising. And our time is now. Our time does not stop. Good will triumph over evil. That is my contribution to this conversation, and I give thanks for being part of it. Sila. Next guy.
Isaac.
Thanks, brethren.
Please, do we have any more comments or questions?
Yes, I have a contribution. I have a comment. Am I on?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So, the way that I understand the reasoning from the professor is this. I can put together the 3 books from that aspect. The knowing yourself, study your neighbor, and then study nature. So I'm a therapist, I'm a clinician, and my job entails, helping people to heal from emotional and mental health diseases, disturbances. Well, when I have a client, normally it's a client to tell me, they don't know what they've come to me, but they don't know what they want. I don't know. You are the clinician, but I don't know what you want if you don't tell me what is bothering you, right? So, what I will ask them to begin to understand the person is, who are you? Who are you? And it's very shocking that a lot of people cannot answer that question. Who are you? Who am I? Right? So that's where then I will give them homework to go and study them, who they are. I can't help you if you don't know who you are and what you need help with. And a lot of us maybe have lost touch with who we are. And so that's why it's important to study yourself, examine ourselves from time to time. Examine yourself, re-examine yourself. And I mean by examine yourself is study yourself. We are evolving continuously all the time. So who are you and how are you functioning in this world? Again, the professor said something about what is your, and that in connection with knowing yourself is the same way you have to study. I'm talking, maybe my system is off, I don't know. But you have to know your neighbor so that that also affects you. How you relate to yourself and how you relate to your neighbor, it's also very important. A lot of mental disturbances, emotional disturbances come with our interaction with ourselves and our neighbors, right? And then nature. So once you know yourself and you know your neighbor, your environment and your nature, then you become a holistic person. And so how do you attain that? Incorporating everything that we have discussed tonight, meditating, prayer is also a very important tool, in understanding who you are. Prayer and music. As you know, being Rastafarians, music is very important in our daily, interactions. Music helps us to be in tune with who we are, and nature. And lastly, I want to say, we're talking about the pineal gland, the third eye. We also have to be aware of the chakras of the body, right? Prof, I don't know if you can tie into the chakras, how to open the chakra and to be able to tap into who you are as a person holistically and to function. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. I think picking up from where you left off in the chakras, I think that's a whole system of teaching that we can get into sometime. But in brief, all these things are connected. We have energy centers in our bodies, and these energy centers primarily sometimes function with a lot of unawareness of what is going on with us. So similar to what we have in the rainbow colors, the base point of our spine at the sacrum is actually located a system of energy that goes almost unnoticed for the vast majority of people. This has been taught over and over again in the ancient books. Our roots, our connection to the Mother Earth is through that energy. So when we are here on the planet, we understand that this planet is typically a female planet, and she is our mother. And so we are gestated in the womb of our mother, and then we are born here. So when we come here, we must therefore have foundation. And that foundation is what in the ancient Hindu teaching, they will normally call it the root chakra. So at the base of the spine, we need to be first of all rooted here. And nobody can be rooted than African people, because really, fundamentally speaking, this planet is mostly earth and nothing else. Everything else is a replica of what we are produced as original beings of the planet. So the root chakra, therefore, is the energy that grounds us to this planet, that makes the earth our primary ownership, and we have ownership of this place. And not just that, but ownership of our bodies. So activating this will then set in motion the other energy centers located at the pelvis, at the level, just at the solar plexus, and then at the heart level, and then at the throat. And then what we've talked about over and over today is at the forehead here, where the pineal gland protrudes into the third eye. So at the crown level, if you're able to raise this energy up, it actually hits. So when our brother was talking about the breathing system, there are so many ways in which you can use the breath alone to control the energy in the body and raise it from the root of your spine all the way to the crown of your head. And when these energies are all functioning and the pathways are clear, nothing you focus on will fail to manifest. And so the route to all manifestation is to clear all the energy blockages and pathways to allow the energy to rise up from below to the top, and then back again, and on and on and on. So for most people, these energy centers are blocked. And it will take a lot of energy healing, therapy, and few exercises, and changes in the ways in which we eat and sleep and do things generally in order to get us there. But that is a very long and winding teaching that will take us for some time. But for now, I think you hit a nail on the head, and opening the chakras and the energy centers up will also help us to quicken the pace of our manifestation. So thank you very much for all the contributions.
The ingestion of the spiritual herb is what really motivates the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is a physical gland that's responsible for maintaining perfect bodily functions. But the third eye is of the spiritual. Is of the spiritual. It's from a man, able to see. The simple little things of life. The spiritual injection of the miracle herb is what motivates the pineal. So a man can be exposed to the realities, the materialities, creation. Give thanks, Pastor Man.
That's
I don't know if I can come in again with another question at this point.
Yes, please do.
I'm trying to follow. I pray thee. Yes, I've been waiting.
Jack will ask his question, and then after Rasmigos can come in.
All right. Give thanks. So, Prof, I'm trying to focus on the key word in the topic there, education, right? Now, we know that part of our education as African people, and I know definitely about the Akan and other tribes. I use tribes advisedly, but let me say groupings in Ghana, but also we can extend that to apply to other African cultures, where our basic education comprises of our parents passing down knowledge to us, right? For instance, the child of the carpenter learned how to make furniture watching their fathers work and assisting them. The child of the farmer grew up to be a great farmer just from learning how their parents did the work. Now, these things lately have been classified child labor by the systemized education that we are used to these days, and by extension by how they want us to conform to social norms, so that if you have a child that's a certain age and you're showing them your trade, it's considered child labor. For instance, if you take children to the cocoa farm to learn how cocoa is produced, And even cocoa, to be honest with you, I don't know if we should be growing cocoa, but let's just say. But that is considered child labor, right? Meanwhile, in the West, believe me, I live in Texas. I see 12-year-olds driving tractors. So they are reversing the system whereby they're actually imbibing what we know and do best, in imparting knowledge to our children directly, where they are frowning on that and calling it child labor, whereas we know how to do that naturally. Now, let me ask you, Prof, where does that concept of naturally passing down education to a younger generation, where does that concept fit within the bigger concept of the Meta School of Manifestation?
Thank you very much for that. But that also hits right at the heart of the Meta School of Manifestation, because we believe education is more experiential than the rote learning that we do in school, sitting to read what somebody else has written for you. So it's the reacquainting us back with what we knew before. The system of knowledge. Education started from the home, as you rightly pointed out. The adage, charity begins at home. The little girl learns how to cook right from her mother, observing what is happening in the kitchen, and becomes natural. So it's looking after the animals and everything else that goes with tendering after the farms, and so on and so forth. Later on, we will have formalized education, but even within the formalized system, we did not throw away the experiential way of learning things through figuring out by doing them yourself. So our Meta School is basically asking us to return to what we had before. So if you like, Sankofa, as we say in Ghana, it's those aspects of our education system that weren't so bad, but for the lack of knowledge and in the name of wholesale discarding of what we had and adopting hook, line, and sinker, what is foreign to us, we have left those elements out. Admittedly, there are certain aspects of that same education system that need to go through some reforms. And we have to agree that in modern day times, we can't take everything that we had in our ancient days and just plug it into the modern system. So I very much encourage learning through practice. If I take myself as an example, when I was growing up, before I ever went to school, I was very good at this, making, cars with my hands, picking tins here and there and then putting them together. By the time I became a professor, all those technical skills that I had all gone. I wouldn't say I lost them, but they have been muted because there's the overemphasis on the intellectual development, much to the disadvantage of the practical aspects of it. But today I found love back in it because I love to farm. I want to touch the soil. I want to do things with my hand. So it seems like coming full circle. Having learned what is there within the formal system, we must also always go back. There are so many educated people who cannot speak the local language, even though they live in Ghana. We can excuse ourselves when we are out of the culture and in other places where the language is not there. But from the very beginning, we have the main tenets of what the education system is through the main medium of instruction, which is the mother tongue. So all of these things are being emphasized within the Meta School of Manifestation, and we want to bring them back into the curriculum. If you are taking your children to farm just to teach and let them know what farming system is, it's always not advisable to listen to what somebody's opinion about what child labor is as a way of organizing your family system. So again, simply adopting what others have given to us without looking into what we have has been the bane of our current system of education. And I just want to tie this with our brother before that, who emphasized on the herb. And I couldn't agree more with that because we've done a little bit of research on this herb to see that it has a lot of role to play in getting us deep down to the levels of the mind that are not seemingly available to ordinary consciousness. The only problem is that the herb itself has been so adulterated that if you are not living in the natural state today, it's almost impossible to find a true herb and a true strain that will help you do this. And that, I think, perhaps within the Rastafari community, as awareness of the role of the herb in modern day life is becoming increasingly important, several avenues will be open for us to do more research on that. I mean, at the United Nations level, they've already lifted all of those ridiculous and draconian rules, and many countries have gone on to legalize. I live and work in South Africa here. It's totally legal here to, grow and use it in private ways. We are still struggling with the laws in Ghana and many other countries. But I think as we go on and on in our evolution, many of the draconian laws that stopped us from exploring other sides of life, such as the herb, and not just cannabis, but so many other herbs that indigenous people used as vehicles to transcend this 3D limitation into the other realms that make manifestation possible and easy. We are beginning to teach that within our meta school system of manifestation. And if you go to Silicon Valley, that's what they're doing. But they're not telling us that they go beyond the 3D in order to get into the blueprints and manufacture and produce. So we have to begin to wake people up. We already have the tools, and it's all about conscious and responsible use of these tools to tap into the dimensions that we have never looked into. These are the dimensions that others have been able to get to, and they can control what happens within the 3D if you know how to get beyond the 3D.
Indeed. Would I be able to make a contribution before we wrap up? I don't know how quickly we're going to wrap up. But I wanted to add to the fact of the brethren that spoke about the child labor. Remember that there. Oh, yeah, Junior Negus was supposed to speak. Partner, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, because I wanted to address something that I mentioned from early, because knowledge, I know that I have, and even
he's having some connection problem there. But if I can continue until maybe he reconnects, that way we fill the space. All right. So
go ahead.
Yes. So what I was saying about the brethren that mentioned the child labor is that is a retardation of African development purposefully being perpetuated against us, right? Because we watch all these little vids on TikTok with their Asian children doing all kind of different things, right? And showing why they're dominating the world because of the fact that their children is learning this in their Pampers, So we got to remember that Sankofa and to return and fetch what we have lost. And it means to even turn our backs and reject these political, criteria, any laws that don't work with I and I. We only understand it for a short period of time. So we stand up for what our ancestors did that was right. We reject all that is here to hinder and stagnate I and I development and growth. And that is the only way we can face down and free our children. If we allow those kind of concepts about child labor and stuff to even flourish for a season, we in serious problems, because that's the only way the child can get directly from you what he needs to get. And so if we gotta pay for it, or he's gotta go into an atmosphere that he might not even be able to be receptive of, in growing and learning. And the next thing is, in Africa, we were supposed to have been the ones that dealt with that edu-seer, edu-creep process where we drew out what was inside of a person, not put in. That's education. So that process of drawing out from within the child is removed. He goes into these colonial schools that only put in and say, if you don't repeat this like a parrot, then you're failing. So this kind of a learning process, this is why I'm so interested in what the brethren is doing. And I'm running off again, so let me mute. Give thanks.
Can I make a comment as well here? Just going back to the use of the sacred herb, I have to put my hand up and give thanks that I had a journey with it, which has helped me greatly.
We'll appreciate a brief comment.
Okay, so the brief comment I want to make is, yes, they're legalizing the use of herb all around the place, but we have to look at the strand of what they are producing, because I certainly think the ganja that we in Jamaica, I think there's a big difference between marijuana and ganja, and so one must be careful where they're sourcing the herbs from that they're using. Yeah.
Thanks. And that goes for food as well. There's a lot of genetically modified food that I must be very wary of as well. So you thank and pray for that.
Yeah, so in listening to you, that is the belief system that we have been given. It becomes challenging to harness our positive psychological principles. So please, with a positive outlook, to reframe our thoughts and perceptions.
Yeah, I didn't get your question, but let's go back to the belief systems, and then we will see that the whole crux of this talk, it's really to get that contradict the finding that life began here with us. It seems to me that we have allowed our operating system to be installed with certain viruses that has miseducated us to the contrary. And that is why I believe that the belief systems that we have, that we carry around, it's the starting point of changing this whole program. And perhaps what we are trying to do is just a little contribution, just by sharing it with brethren like you, begins to set in motion the debate and the talks of the various topics that are related to this. But fundamentally speaking, is to get down to that place where we can install new programs. When I look at the continent and studying the economies around, everybody talks about this is the richest place. But why do we then accept other narratives that also points to the fact, especially using statistics and figures, that shows that we are probably the worst places on the planet? So these types of narratives are simply belief systems that have been very well installed through the education system. They have been programmed into people by professors like myself, and through the media, the religious systems, and everything around us. So what we are trying to do in our own small way is to see how best can we teach differently by focusing back on those core beliefs. Because when I sit in the forest area of Techiman, for instance, and I see the beauty and the lushness around us, I can't see any poverty arising out of that situation. Yet when I turn into my economics books to teach, and I see income distribution and distribution of wealth and all that, it points to another, completely different paradigm. So within the system of education that we need to have, is something completely different than what we have now. That encourages us to look deeper within and to observe the environment around us, so that when statistics and figures are produced that contradict the physical environment around us, we begin to question them and form new beliefs that mimic our environment. And that environment is typically a very rich place. Just a few days ago, a mountain caved in the Republic of Congo, and new sources of copper are coming up. This is true for almost the entire continent. Walking around the continent, it's just rich because the people themselves too are rich. But if the people cannot believe in their own richness and begin to harness this richness through the methodical processes that we are describing, it is very difficult. Then we just begin to remain as we are, and our unique potentials are being exploited for the gain of others. So this evening's talk was really about getting us to form new beliefs about in ourselves. First of all, getting to know ourselves will also make us understand that we are unique creatures here. And if we are unique creatures here, we have unique abilities to manifest differently and at a higher octave. And the higher octave manifestation is what we present here as in installing new programs, new beliefs, and practicing in a way that taps into our inner potential for greater fulfillment in life. So it's been a great evening, and I thank you all for the very insightful comments and contributions that you made to the discussion. I think this reasoning has been a great journey for all of us, and thank you all for your attention. So back to you, moderator.
Thank you very much, Prof. Fliro. So we'll take one last comment, and then did I say Fliro? Thank you very much, Prof. Imote. We'll take a very last comment question. Daddy Bosco, 7 Fireside, Prof. Fliro, if any of you have a question, comment. We'll take one last question or comment, and then Prof will give us his closing remarks.
I would like to say thank you for all of your comments and sharings, and I appreciate it. And in Jamaica, they say we are a third world country, but here, if you are conscious and aware, then you live a first world life.
Give thanks.
Thank you too.
Greetings.
Greetings.
I want to say give thanks, Prof. Imhotep, for this meeting. And this will be, it's like a teaser for the keynote address at the 10th National Rastafari Conference, the first International Rastafari Conference that will take place in next year in March. So I give thanks, and as an avid student, the insights that you've shared are setting us on a course we want to get some more. So I believe that behind or after this session, ones and ones will engage you to see ones and ones can sign on to study the book of self, the book of the name.
Ras, please, are you there?
Please, can I suggest that everyone who is not speaking should mute their microphone, and it may help.
Thank you, Empress. Yes, please, let's try and do that.
Strong in the faith.
Let's mute.
Give thanks to Brother Imhotep, Professor Imhotep. Give thanks for the discussion. and the knowledge. Give thanks, brother. Blessings.
Ras Bosco, we lost you somewhere along the line.
Sorry about that. I said next steps would be to find out how to sign up for the metaverse or the meta teachings, like Prof said. And then I also look forward to hearing him deliver the keynote speak at next conference. Give thanks.
Thank you, Ras. So please, do you have any other comments? I think our time is up. And so we'll go to Prof for his closing remarks. Ras David, 7 Fireside, please. Is there any comment, Prof Wiro, so that we can take the final comments?
Well, if Prof Imhotep is here, I just wanted to ask if he could just say a little bit of something on, he said something about education is designed to prepare you to go get a job, right? And he has obviously showed us that that's a problem. I wish I'd like him to say a little more about that. And also, he mentioned something about, in our previous conversation with the collective, he said something about getting past the economy of money as an objective and going straight for our goals, our intentions. And it's tied to all he said to us. But if you could say a little something about that, the idea of going to school to get a job and our solutions that comes from money, having money, which turns to be an obstacle in manifesting things.
Thank you very much, brother. I think this is a very loaded question for the time that we have, but just briefly. So what we are trying to do with the Meta School of Manifesting is to look beyond the kind of education that we've been told. It's the type of education that I've received. You go get degrees and then get a job. Now we are telling the students that, yes, that is okay, but what else can you do beyond that? And we're beginning to open to, if you have a musical skill or an artistic skill, then we want to take that skill and help you how to harness it into a product that you can share with community and that you can use to fill a need. And it is through that you then get paid or rewarded for. Now, that reward can come in several forms. It could be money. That is what we know today as paper money or coins, notes and coins, but it's now increasingly going digital. But it's all about sharing of energy. And that energy is priceless in many ways because we can't put really a tag on it. So we can talk about this, I think, when we meet again in some of our other discussions so that we can enlarge on these points. But truly what we are seeking to do is to provide some tools and certain specific passwords and master numbers that we can all use to unlock specific to reason together. We all begin to bring the little that we've picked here and there so that we can put it together and make it an organized system of knowledge that our brethren and sisters can share in, and that can help us to advance our cause. So tonight, my aim was to really share with you and reason with you on the themes of manifesting differently from what we have. Africa is still the richest place. Africans are still the richest people on the planet. And we are beginning to point people back to the source of this wealth, which is in us, first of all, and before it comes outside, and the tools that are needed for us to get inside. So we're looking forward to putting these thoughts together and what I have heard from everybody here and making a presentation on the keynote, hopefully early next year when we meet together as a council. But just know that this community is a great community of like-minded people that we gather together to reason like this. And topics like this, when we release them into the universe, our ancestors who lived before us and who are still us sitting here discussing these issues, understand that we have deeper insights and deeper knowledge that we can bring to liberate ourselves first and liberate the collective. So I thank you all for the audience that you granted me tonight. I'm grateful to all the organizers and the leadership of the Rastafari movement in Ghana and globally. I thank all our ancestors for the wisdom and the knowledge for me to stay and share with you. And as we begin to open the portals and learn more about what our ancestors left for us, may they strengthen all of us and open our eyes to see, so that we can take our journey in this life forward in a grand style. So I thank you and I bless all of you. Give thanks.
Give thanks.
Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
Professor, can I get your contact, please?
Give thanks, Patrick, and bless Professor.